Hey, in today's video, I wanted to talk about how often should you talk with your customers if you are working in software products. I'm a product director, and talking with your customers, understanding your customers is one of the most important things that you have to do. How do you do this? Well, there's going to be different ways that you're going to hear about the needs that your customers have. There are going to be the typical ones that you're going to hear maybe from your customer support, from your sales teams, even analyzing the data, how they're using your products, how often are they starting a product, how many licenses they have, and so on. But this is just going to be a part of the story. This is not talking directly with your customers. So let's talk now about how often you should be talking with them. So I think that depends on your role, your position in a company. The times or how often you should be talking with your customers is gonna depend. There's going to be certain people, like a product designer, who probably is going to be more actively talking with their customers than a product manager. It depends a lot on the role and how they run the projects and in which stage of ideation or the life cycle of a product they're going to be talking more or less with the customers, let's say more often with the customers. So recently I was consulting a company, and this is probably not one of the most common customers because this was a product that was built specifically for this customer. I was in calls with this customer twice a week, usually, sometimes even more. That is quite high pace, and that is a great way to understand what your customers are doing, what they need, how you can validate your ideas, your mock-ups, your prototypes with them. Are you going the right direction? And also start speccing what is going to come next, understand better what those next problems are, and potentially ideate on those solutions together with the customer. If you're building products for many customers, most probably you're not going to have that close relationship with a customer. Most of the customers are not going to have so much time to invest in discussions with a company. First of all, because you are not building a tailored solution for them. So if we go to the more like the normal case that you are building products for a wider use or a wider audience, could be a consumer product, it could be a business-to-business product. Of course, there's going to be differences there as well. But I think that when you are building products for businesses especially, which is the area that I know the best, I would recommend that anybody that is working, for example, in product management should regularly be attending meetings with customers. This, I would say, kind of the minimum would be once a month. Ideally, you can have something like once a week or every other week that you're talking with certain customers where you understand better what they're trying to do. You understand better what problems they have. You understand better where your prototypes, your potential ideas are going to take you in the future, and validate those ideas with them. When it's a good time to talk with these customers, I would say that usually when you are in the beginning, in an ideation stage, it's good to talk with the customer because you want to validate that problem that you think that they have. You want to make sure that this is a problem they have. If you're in the B2B world, you obviously want to know if they're willing to pay for you to solve this problem with your products. If you're in a prototyping phase, you probably want to meet more often with customers. Doesn't mean with the same customer, but you want to be working with those customers to understand also better that those mock-ups that I'm creating are really something that are fixing, solving the problems that they have. This is something that maybe is not going to be so driven by the product manager, but by the product designer. This is going to depend a lot on the company. In some cases, both will attend those meetings. In some cases, it will be more the product manager. In some cases, more the product designer. I think that both in the beginning, especially in the exploration of the problem, both of them should be very actively participating. When it comes to the building the mockups, I think that many times the product designers should take the lead because they usually have very good processes and frameworks to actually validate those mockups, those prototypes, those potential solutions together with the customers, and also focus on the whole experience and design of the product. And I would argue that this has to go throughout the whole implementation. It is not a bad idea that every other week you could meet with a customer, not all of them, but a customer, a representative one that is going to actually go and test your latest developments. They don't have to be necessarily something that is very obvious in the US, and there's going to be more back-end development or more like, well, what I'm planning to build, and get that feedback from the customer to see if I'm going in the right direction. This is usually what you want to do with Agile. You want to have cycles where you are identifying problems, then you are ideating solutions, then you are actually building those solutions. You are actually building the solutions, ideally, with the customers by being in those meetings, by being in those calls with them. And then you want to release it to a wider audience, get feedback, and see how it behaves when more people are using it. And then you continue to iterate and move forward. You don't want to go and build a perfect solution for a problem. Because if you are new, maybe it has not happened to you, but if you have been building products for a while, you probably know that, and you probably have several features that you have built in your product or even the whole product that you thought that it was very valid, that it was solving a problem, that people even told you that they had that problem. But then when you build it and you build that perfect solution, nobody needs it. This has happened to me probably several times. I don't remember and how many times, but several for sure. And it's never a nice feeling. And definitely the problem is in not understanding properly either the problem or the solution that you are building, or building the wrong solution for the customers, or building it also even for the wrong audience. So how you meet with your customers is going to be different. In some cases, you are going to have online calls, which nowadays is usually perfectly acceptable and something that most of the people are doing. You can also sometimes drive these discussions through something like forums, online forums, communities. You can have a restricted area for those customers that are participating more in this, let's say, technical previews or working together with you to develop certain features. So they are not going to be your regular customers. You have to obviously choose carefully who are going to be these people. Typically, you are going to be looking into people that potentially you're building problems for, obviously, especially if you are starting to enter a new audience. And sometimes you want to also keep in this audience some of your loyal customers. You want to keep the people that have been working with you for a long time, that know your products very well, and that they're going to give you the feedback that, hey, now that you're building this new functionality, this might be interesting for me, it might be not. It might be breaking some workflow that I have within the product. So you want to make sure that the whole design is cohesive, it makes sense, and you are building it for all the right audiences that you have. And that you are involving those audiences in the testing or in those interviews that you're going to have with the customers. Of course, you could also have things like surveys. That's another way of talking to your customers, but realistically is a not very direct way of getting feedback, and sometimes there's no conversation. There is a lot that can be misinterpreted, and there is a lot that can be missed from that feedback or from that information that you might be giving within your survey. So if you are working with your customers, my recommendation depends on the phase of where you are, depends on your availability, depends on how many people you have in your team. I would say that the minimum is to be talking at least once a month with your customers. Ideally, you will be talking every week or every other week with some of your customers, so you are able to understand that and validate what you are building that is the right product for them. So how about you? How often are you talking and working with your customers? How often are you having meetings, calls, whatnot with them? Please let us know in the comments below. There are other ways of talking with customers. I was talking now more from the point of view of product development, but what about other meetings that you have? Would you be interested to hear more about that? Sometimes as a product person, you can be included in meetings that are related more to a sales process. So sales is trying to sell the product to some new customer, and they want to bring somebody from the product team to be in that conversation, or even from software engineering or R&D. Would you like to see a video about that? Again, let me know in the comments below. I will see you in the next one. Remember, stay safe.